Now, it was just a few days to her birthday that Leticia took her very last footsteps on this very path that we've decided to walk on now. So abafundi base Graceland kwesinye isikhathi mabashiwe ibhasi even go as far as having to cross the dangerous N17 stretch of the road that we're looking at right now. Jobu ibonela ke mbukeli ikhona la ubudino la thule khona umzimba kaseswakhe uLeticia after he undertook to go and find her himself after amaphoyisa had told him ukuthi the 48-hour period had not passed. Mfethu usisi wakho umthola khona la kule ndawo emva kwesikhathi esingakanani uhamba nobani?
Sisi wami ulahleke Wednesday beye esikoleni lapho waba after school ingane uthi sibuye esikoleni ngibona akaqhamuki, then usisi wami nanga bangitshela ukuthi usisi wami akekho. Kube Friday umalume wami angivuse ekuseni athi asamsobhe usisi wakho, masihamba nezinja zethu uLuffy noBrown inja my bar shithi ukuthi mhlawumbe khona something ekhona, masihamba sithole isicathulo asinasho ukuthi me sasisi wami somunye umntwana wesikole. Masithi yavula usisi wami bamcoverishe ngelinye isaka elishile and la ngathi beshile kancane, ibluko leli kuleli side balikhiphile, une-bruises la ehlweni and la ngathi udumbile, bebleeda futhi agcwele igazi emampumulweni nasemlonyeni.
For young Leticia to be walking to school at that time is because the transport left her.
And not her alone. There are plenty children.
Plenty other children. It seems like there is problems around this transport that was being used.
The transport get permission from the principal to leave early, or you must leave 10 to 7. There's the time the principal gives you. Other children go to extension 9. There's other bus there, and that bus driver told them they are not allowed to take Digatol's children to school. So I don't know is it truth or is it lies. But what other school children say, they chase them away. So in other words, maybe Leticia was between their children or ran for that bus in extension 9. They refused to take them to school. Then it's the time they start work.
Do you really think this whole bus or mode of transport or the actual transport system is a problem? What do you think the actual problem is?
The actual problem is, I think, is the transport. Because if that driver didn't leave the children that specific day, maybe she was be alive today. Not maybe, she was be alive today.
What a sad story. But on that note, we want to say hello, Dumelang, Sanbonani, South Africa. A very warm welcome to Expressions. This is definitely the place for you to air your views. I'm your host, Jacqueline Mapala.
Sinbingile Sinamgele, and I'm your host, Mgolisi Wagamasang. This is again Koma from our headquarters in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. Now, will scholar transport problems ever be resolved in Mzansi Africa? That is our poll question. Please do join in the conversation on our social media platforms.
And that's a very important poll question that we're asking tonight, because according to the National Policy on Scholar Transport, it is the responsibility of the provincial departments of education to select pupils who qualify for state-provided transport. Now, learners should be provided with transport if their ability to access education is hampered by long distances, threats to their safety and security, as well as the high cost of transport. But pupils who attend a particular school because of their parents prefer it, or maybe because of the fact that they are placed nearest, are sometimes excluded from this policy.
Kusenjalo-ke, Jackie, every academic year is marred by scholar transport problems. See Expressions again, we took to the streets phela ukuthi sikhulumisane noLusha kanye nabafundi from Graceland School in order to understand ukuthi ngaba challenges abafacana nawo ngelanga nelanga anjani. Do take a look at this. So Expressions, your #1 youth current affairs show, was up bright and early namhlanje to catch up with these young pupils as they make their way to school. Now, in light of the gruesome murder of young Leticia Jansen, we decided we'll be catching up with some of the very pupils who caught the bus with her to find out what their sentiments around safety are. So I was still in this la for your transport.
Yo, 13 minutes, yeah.
So yazi ukuthi kwenzekeni mos ngalo sislo omunye ushiye transport, right? Ikwenza wena uzizwe njani njengomuntu omusha?
Actually ngizizwa unsafe njengoba maye kwenzakalele into leyenzakalile.
So mhlawumbe ufuna ukubona kwenzekani ukuthi uzizwe safe mawulinde ibhasi?
I-government nama isiprovidele ibhasi and ibhasi lakhona kufuneka zifike ngamaxesha different. So uba abanye abantwana bafika late nabo bakwazi ukukhwela.
Vuka ngoba isikhathi kuseni?
Yo ngo5:30.
Okay.
And u6 ushaya ngala bridge.
Well, at the back of that insert, Mbukeli Siqhubekela Phambili ngale nkulumo. Joining me now to take the discussion further, Nginosisi Thobeka Manqayi, who is the Department of Basic Education's Communication and Intergovernmental Relations Manager, as well as Ubabu Elmon Make, who's the Director for Scholar Transport. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, Cole. Thank you once again for having us on the show.
Great
and
to
good
have
evening
you
to the
on the
viewers at
show.
home.
Absolutely. Now, of course, you do know that I don't do this by myself. My co-host, Jacqueline, making sure ukuthi ama comments akho ku social media ayabonakala. So, xhumana nathi, it's going to go Facebook, kanye na ku Twitter. Now, Thobeka, imali eningi goes into making sure ukuthi ingane zifike esikoleni ziphephile. Kodwa what happens ke when it seems like that money is not worth it kuma service providers? Mawuzoba nomfundi ona 13 walking in what you would easily call the valley of death. Clearly, it's not making it a huge difference what the department is doing.
Well, firstly, I want to actually express, the department is very saddened by what happened to Leticia, especially upon hearing that the transport left them behind. He decided to change times. The learners have a timetable that they're issued with by the service provider, and it's really unfortunate that he could just change times without even following the necessary steps or anything like that. This death of Leticia, it could have been avoided. It's an unfortunate incident that has happened, and we want to express our sincere condolences as well to the family, to the school, to the friends of Leticia for what has transpired. The budget actually that was allocated for the 2019-2020 financial year is 3.7 billion.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money for just scholar transport. And you will know that scholar transport is part of our proper package. Learners that would attend no-fee paying school. So no-fee paying is one of the systems. It would be then scholar transport. When they get to school, they're provided also with school nutrition and dignity packs. But also the policy does, in the policy statement, it does acknowledge that the funds or the budget would not be enough to meet the demand. So the demand is quite high.
Because this is the same issue les dilangayo as well. Kuma rural KZN, kuma rural Eastern Cape, siyababona abantwana traveling ibanga elide ukuthi bafike esikoleni. Asikhulume nge-consequence management manje. Simbonile nisebenzisana namaphoyisa to ensure ukuthi izehlakalo ezifana nalezi don't happen again. But then again, you also have ama-unions afana no-USA coming out to demand ukuthi kuba at least 2 police officers visible ey'koleni zethu. I just want to know, what are you guys doing about such demands?
Well, in KZN in particular, the MEC takes this issue very seriously. He has actually put together a special task team that will audit the entire province in relation to scholar transport or learner transport. And that task team reports to the HOD on a weekly basis, specifically looking at incidences of learners that are having to cross rivers and that find themselves in unsafe situations. That's what they've done, number one. Number two is that they have also the learners that would cross rivers to access a school, they're being accommodated at alternative schools where they don't need to cross a river. So that's where we would also just need parental buy-in to say, look, it's fine for our learners to be allowed to be accommodated at these schools, even though maybe they prefer the school on the other side. I mean, it's not safe for them to cross. So those are some of the interventions that have been put in place. Yeah,
we'll have to also explore the role that our parents play as well in all of this. But Almon, Sikleta in. Now it seems like our lines are blurred here in terms of our roles. Le dlalwa Department of Education, le dlalwa Nina as a transport. Exactly who does what, and are both departments able to work together and find common ground to ensure that our incidents afana nalawa actually don't happen ever?
Thank you very much. Before, I just want also to pass the condolences for the department, for the family, for this tragic loss of this young life. The policy was developed to deal with issues like intergovernmental relations between government. In this regard, the National Land Transport Policy provides that the Department of Transport, the Department of Education, in the national level, as well as provinces, must monitor the implementation of the Land Transport Program. There is a committee that is been established at the national level, where we meet on a quarterly basis. We receive reports from provinces about the implementation of the program, which my lady has alluded to, which has got a budget of 3.7 billion rand. So on a quarterly basis, we receive reports about incidences around learner transport, how many learners have been transported, what accidents have been reported as well. So there is a system in place to monitor the implementation of the learner transport program. Obviously, there are issues that we get, and as government, we sometimes we go into these provinces and monitor the implementation of the program. So there are intergovernmental relations structures at the national level. These structures must cascade down to the provincial level, okay? Because the provinces are the ones who are implementing the program in terms of their budgets, and they are the ones who are appointing the service providers.
I'm keen on actually finding out, once you've had those gatherings, what happens then? Because in the meantime, body toll increases, children are dying. So we will explore all of that with Masbuya at break-in. And of course, in Bugeli now, do make sure that you participate in Kundlin Zetu Zokuman. Expressions, Iyabuya after this. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You are still watching Expressions here on SABC 1. We are talking about scholar transport, and the poll question that we're asking you tonight is simply this: will scholar transport problems ever be solved in South Africa? Now, I am joined by a very special guest. His name is Gaugelo Mohale, who is a socialist, but also I think he's also an artist of some sort. Welcome to Expressions. It's good to have you here tonight. I mean, this is such an important conversation that we're having tonight on the show, and especially considering the fact that, you know, deaths are coming from this particular discussion that we're having. And it was interesting, and I want to sort of just maybe highlight on some of the elements and the points that the people on the panel were talking about. Tobeka mentioned the fact that the department is actually spending 3.7 billion for scholar transport. Do you think it shows?
No, it doesn't show. That's a lot of money. But then, first of all, I'd like to send my condolences to the family and the school as well. But I don't think, with the images I saw, those transport doesn't look like that amount of money was spent on them. And I think if that amount of money was spent, there were going to be adequate transport system, you know, provided for the kids.
And as a young person, I mean, all of us have seen this in one way or another, where we're seeing scholar transports happening in our locations, Kokasi, rural areas, wherever you're coming from. Who do you think should take responsibility when such incidences actually take place? Do you think government is to blame?
I think there are three parties that are held accountable. The parents should always make sure that when the transport fetch their kids, they're there to make sure they're getting in the right transport. And even if the transport leaves them, they're gonna know. And the teachers as well should also realize if the kid is absent, communicate with the teacher. Even the transport man should have a relationship with the kids so we can realize which kid is missing, which kid did I miss.
And in terms of education, do you think even young people are educated enough in terms of understanding what is the right standard? So for example, if you are part of a scholar transport where you understand the transporting, do you think young people are educated in knowing at least who to speak to should they have this kind of a problem, or who to turn to if they have that kind of issue?
No, it's not really taken into consideration, because in the locations where I'm from, transport would be filled and you'd hear them saying there's no overload for transport system. So I think if even parents should be concerned about this issue, a seat should be for one child in a transport so that they all have space inside. So
Yeah. And do you think, just maybe as the last question, do you think that, you know, departments like the Department of Education and Department of Transport, who actually is supposed to be working together to ensure that, you know, firstly, young people get to school, but secondly, that young people get to school safely, do you think they only really care about what's going on the ground when something bad happens?
They only make big moves. I think they should also like get in touch. They should also visit the school. Sometimes get inside the bus like an unknown inspector, see how things go, see how kids are being treated, and that way those who are behind those buttons, they will see how their money is being used, how the services are. Yeah.
And I absolutely agree with that. I think that's such an important point to say that a lot of the people who are decision makers when it comes to scholar transport should actually themselves experience the scholar transport that young people are going through right now. So let's find out what you as a young person had to say. Nazim says, I think this is a big no, because rural areas are the last priority in this government, especially in the Eastern Cape. Learners are struggling big time. So definitely not a lot of confidence from Nazim. Utabisile, who obviously wrote something extremely long, says that, you know, from the videos of extreme overloading that were circulating earlier this year, there's a lot that still needs to be done. Now, if I'm saying it properly, says, if necessary steps are taken, I think it will be achievable. But if our government deliver such services without monitoring, which is such an important point that Gaugela made, and I guess she's basically saying that it's going to be important, that monitoring and evaluation is definitely going to be important. And of course, we definitely love to hear a lot of the comments that are coming to you, at least coming to us as expressions from you, Gochai. But of course, we want to roll our WhatsApp note. So let's take it here.
Hi Expressions, I am Bumi, commenting on the topic at hand. What has happened is very terrible, but I believe with constant education, we can improve the safety of our children. And also, when you choose a transport for your child, choose people that you are much comfortable with, people that you can trust, people that have qualities of being a parent, people that know how to take care of kids and know how to communicate with kids. Thank you.
Definitely reiterating some of the comments that I think we were sharing around education, safety, and obviously at least the community being involved in making sure that some of these service providers are able to make sure that our kids get to schools, I think, safely. A very big thank you for coming in and talking to us, Gaugelo, around this very important issue. I think it's always important to make sure that young people have their voices heard. That's all we have for you for this particular segment. Thank you so much for watching us. Mkolisi is on the flip side of this. You are watching Expressions. We'll be back.
Now, will the scholar transport problem ever be resolved in South Africa? Expressions. Tobeka, we have to wrap this conversation up right now. Sponile naku video note here to Umzali there suggesting ukuthi abazali babe more involved in maybe selecting ama drivers, kodwa sometimes balinde nabe khoneni. But I want to know from you, what do you make of some of the suggestions that came up to us, with some parents actually saying ukuthi winter years manje? And how would it be if you guys as the department sat down with the schools and engaged them to say, look, how about we maybe push isikhathi sokuqala kwesikolo maybe a bit further? If, say, for instance, qala ngo-7, we can start maybe an hour or two later, because it's going to be difficult for these kids njengoba kuqala winter.
Well, Mko, I think parents, it's important for them to make their suggestions. I mean, their comments are always welcome and they can be assessed on that, because the issue of road safety is a huge concern for the department, especially where parents enter into contractual agreements with private service providers. You know, you find that learners are transported in unroadworthy vehicles. They're using vehicles that are not supposed to be used, like trucks or vans and that sort of thing. So it is a huge concern, and parents are welcome to actually submit their, in fact, they're a key role player in this, you know, their inputs are always welcome.
So you assure us that your department will do something about it?
Definitely, we can take their inputs into consideration, because, you know, the safety of learners is paramount. It's very important. It's in our best interest to have learners arriving at school on time and safe so that they can receive that quality education. So it's a responsibility for society as a whole. So when motorists as well see learners on the street, for example, trying to access schools or walking to school, they need to slow down. So all of us have a huge role to play. It's all our responsibility to ensure that learners are safe.
But Elmon, she's also making a very important point. Imoto izingekho roadworthy. How thorough is the law enforcement quickly to ensure ukuthi imoto njengale taxi lesibone crime abantwana about 19 in a taxi that carries about 14 people? How thorough are you guys in ensuring that we curb all of that?
Road safety is one of the key pillars of the learner transport policy. In this regard, learner transport service providers are supposed to be authorized. Authorized means they must have operator licenses before they are issued with contracts. All the vehicles that are supposed to operate to carry learners, they must go through roadworthy checks every 6 months before any contract is awarded. So law enforcement must take do its job. You shouldn't have any issues where learners who are 58 learners in a taxi are ferried by this kind of things. So law enforcement is the key issue that's supposed to happen amongst other things that dealing with issues around road safety.
Elmon Marke is the Director for Scholar Transport. Kanye Tobeka Mangai, who's the Department of Basic Education. She's in Communications and Intergovernmental Relations. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I wish we had more time to deal with this issue. Now, Mbugele, of course, are we ever going to win the Scholar Transport problem, right? And this is what you had to say. Let's look at the results.
Wow. So 20% of you said yes and 80% of you said no. So it doesn't seem to be a lot of confidence in the fact that this is an issue that we will ever resolve. But this is the reason why we as Expressions are actually having this kind of conversation. I hope you at Kochai have had a lot of insight around this, and hopefully we can come up with, I think, viable solutions around how you can be able to prevent such situations that we've seen tonight. Right, Mko?
Absolutely, we're checking. We're at Albert Park eThekwini lapho sobe sinenkulumo ebaluleke kakhulu this coming Friday. So make sure to nibanati at Albert Park eThekwini this coming Friday between 11 and 1.
Exactly. So Expressions is on the ground. Make sure you are there.
All right. Nisale kahle.
Mama, no but can feel her. She said to me, son, how did you know? Pull up in a 325, Ndwana Efrajine, how did you know? On Gilaro, Lema Jim, but free again niggas, man, how did you know? 90s nigga, Nia She's, she bought me crazy pop, how did she know? How did you 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 know? Mama, no but can feel her. She said to me, son, how did you know? Pull up in a 325, Ndwana Efrajine, how did you know? They're asking me, how do I know? That my wrist will be covered with the snow. They're asking me, how do I know? Now my EP will be so rich and gold. Young nigga pouring the fall. Then I hope in let's go. Let's go, let's go. Grew up in the bendo, but fed to Banyazing is shy and it's swerving in the edge, still white. Okay, you're heading on me, well, that's okay. I'm sipping activist, you on high tech. See the bubble, eat them like snack. I am done for my queen like I am Shrek, like a hungry stomach.